disclosure, I thought we were just talking for like 20 minutes and I wasn't recording.
Yeah. So we're starting over. We're doing it again.
Take 2. Action.
So
I'm Tay.
I'm Mea.
Hi.
Hi. So what does your shirt say? We talked about our shirts.
We're gonna run you through what we've already done.
Yes.
We both have cool shirts on. My shirt says, I just want to lay on the beach and eat hot dogs. And I got it for $3 at a Goodwill.
I have to stand up to show you mine.
Yep.
Mom, manager of mischief.
Mischief managed.
And Tay, where did you get your shirt?
Goodwill. Popped a tag. No, I didn't pop a tag. It was $3. It's $3. Loads of compliments. Best shirt I own. It's the best fitting shirt. I don't know. It's just, it's like one of those like unicorn finds at the Goodwill, you know, and it's just like, it hits. It's unhinged. Right. It hits.
And it's perfect price. So it's just, it makes it even better.
Live, laugh, love.
Oh, I gotta get our co-star up again.
We're going to talk about co-star again. This week's pretty good. Pretty good. Also, you know the drill. Get it. Oh, it's co-star time. I don't know. I had a really good song last time. I'm still working on the song. Co-star time.
We're going to make a compilation of all of the co-star renditions.
Yeah, maybe we'll find the jingle. Yeah. What we got today?
Okay, so just FYI, we are not sponsored by co-star. Feel free to go add Tay. Her name on there is DAHLT. And if you are okay with us reading your co-star, let us know in the comments.
I'd love to see how compatible we are.
And if you guys aren't compatible, she listens to co-star, so you can't be friends. Anyway.
I literally, did I tell you? I went on this date with a train conductor and we were not compatible on co-star at all. And I told him that. And he was like, does that mean you're not going to like me? Blah, blah, blah. And he was like kind of being a jerk about it. I'm like, you being upset about wondering if an app isn't going to make you like me is making me not like you. And we weren't compatible. Guess what? Co-star was right, and it's never failed me. Anywho's.
All right. Okay, so the co-star says, Taylor stretches the truth by lying to themselves so much that they actually believe it. You also stretch the truth by lying to yourself so much that you believe it. So this is one that also includes other friends. I'm going to just call them friend 1 and friend 2 because I don't have permission to have
thing 1 and thing 2?
Fun fact, my dad wanted to name my sister and I thing 1 and thing 2.
Like a legit baby name?
Like, he jokes about it.
Oh.
He's like, it's a joke. No.
Thing
1 and thing 2. Anyway, so, person 1 also lies to themselves so much that they actually believe it. Person 2 blurts out the most provocative thing that they can think of in a moment of anger.
Which I said before, if you knew this person or if you know this person, it's actually very accurate. Especially if they're playing a particular video game, they get very upset. It's funny.
It's amusing. Okay, so we're going to give you a garden update.
Yo, when we were not recording, the reason I realized we were not recording is because I went to see how long we had been going off about our bucket gardens. And I'm not even mad, and I would do it again because bucket gardens are the thing, okay? They're the next thing to do.
They're not as high maintenance as like a regular garden because like it's up off the ground. You don't have to worry about weeds quite as much. I mean, obviously there's other things like overwatering and things that you have to worry about like that, but I just feel like it's easier. You were saying that you can move the buckets if you need to.
The thing is, it doesn't even have to be buckets though, because you could have like those plastic storage bins that you put like your ugly Christmas decorations in. Like you could drill some holes in the bottom of that and put a couple plants. Like the nice thing about the 5-gallon buckets is you can treat it like a square foot. Like I was following like the square foot gardening method where it's like you treat one bucket as 1 square foot of gardening space, and then you can kind of you can do 1 tomato plant or 2 cucumbers or I think I have 6 green bean plants in my bucket.
Yeah.
I got too many beans. Too many
Yeah.
beans. My beans are
But-
growing, by the way. My beans are like this long. I think they're ready to pick.
That's super exciting.
I
I
know.
don't think I have any actual produce growing. Like, I've got flowers on things, but I don't think I have any actual, I mean, other than like the lettuce and the kale. The lettuce
Yeah.
and the kale can be picked, but like I just bought a cucumber plant yesterday. I just bought a broccoli and a cauliflower plant earlier this week. I need to plant them. I just got some more buckets and drilled holes in them yesterday, so I need to fill those up with dirt today. But
it's taken me mine were flowering for the longest time. I feel like in the last week things are like I have almost a full grown cucumber now. My zucchini finally flowered, and there's like little mini zucchinis. I don't even like
Super
how do
exciting.
you know when it's ready to go? I have a couple strawberries. Good. My strawberries are like coming in now. Before it was like once a week I'd get 1 strawberry. I'm like, this sucks. Like, who's just gonna eat 1 strawberry? Be like, man,
Right.
I enjoyed my strawberries today, so I haven't picked them because I want to pick like 6 at least. Like, have a couple
Right.
strawberries.
right.
But have you run into any issues with your garden?
So there's one plant that I forgot about and I didn't plant it. I don't know if it's going to live.
What was it?
It's a tomato plant. My mom bought me a tomato plant and like I set it outside. I'm like, oh, I'll plant it later because like I didn't have any dirt. So then when I bought dirt and then I completely forgot about it, and one of my kids is like, hey, there's that tomato plant. And I'm like,
Hey, the roots are there's probably no dirt left. It's just like a ball of roots in the little.
So I mean, I planted it and part of it's green, but part of it's brown. So we'll see if it lives. I don't know.
You know, with if you sing to it, give it a little TLC, play it some music, it could come back.
So Macy, my youngest, okay, she likes to water the buckets, and then Mackenzie has this long wooden box that she's planted herbs in. So the herbs are Mackenzie's in charge of. Macy loves watering the buckets. And so she'll go out there and she's like, oh, I'm gonna go water the plants. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I told her yesterday, I said, Tay says you should sing to them. And I don't know if she actually will, but if anyone would,
was
she
to
would.
do it, we should tell her that she needs to give dance performances. Like, they like to watch dances. She would so do that. It'd
Yeah,
be great.
she would.
She'll bring it back. I believe in it.
Yeah. But she likes to go out there and she waters them, and it's fine. It's good for her. It's good for both of them.
I've had an issue with my tomato plants because I gave my green beans fungus because I overwatered them. Now, this is the thing about gardening that I can't get. I can't grasp my head around it. Some plants need certain water. You overwater some, you underwater others. You can't water them all, and then it rains and it throws off your schedule. So like, I overwatered my green beans and they developed this fungus, and then I had to pick all the dead leaves off and spray it with like this copper fungicide. So then I freaked out because I'm like, I'm overwatering these plants. So I stopped really watering them, and then all my tomato plants started dying. But then I like watered it with some like fertilizer and water, and then they perked back up. So I don't know. I'm still trying to, it's a delicate dance and balance between like, I'm also like learning every single leaf does not need to be picture perfect. Like, it's natural for some to like, you know, wilt off, or like the fruit will still grow regardless of what like the leaves look like to an extent. So like, I'm kind of getting over like, there's one spot on this one little leaf, like I have to do all this stuff to fix it. Like, I'm like an overprotective plant mom, and I'm kind of like, it'll bounce back, just give it some water. Whatever.
Yeah. But something is eating one of my pepper plants, or a couple of my pepper plants, and I'm not really sure what, but other than that, it seems to be going okay.
You get a little buggy spray, because I had bugs eating my eggplant. There's certain plants that are susceptible to like little buggies. Like, I had like these little, it looked like little tiny holes. I'm like, why does this look like Swiss cheese right now on my broccoli and my eggplant? I do have the forming of an eggplant. It's like, and again, I had no idea. I feel stupid. I had no idea how these vegetables grow. Like my broccoli plant literally looks like it's giving birth. Like it's like coming up and then like the head of broccoli's in the center and it's like emerging from like these like shoots of leaves. I'm like, this kind of nasty, but I kind of love it. And then like the eggplant, it's just like shooting up. And then there's like little eggplants like drooping off the side of it. It's like, boop, boop, boop. Like it's so weird. I don't know.
I mean, it's a
It's the
cool
miracle
hobby.
of nature.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking about how much time and energy and money I've actually put into this gardening when I'm like, for like, obviously when you grow things yourself without all these like GMOs and things, they're a bit smaller. So I'm like, I can go to the grocery store and get a bell pepper for like $1 and it's this huge, beautiful bell pepper. And then I just like look at my little dinky bell pepper that I've probably spent maybe $10, 10 to $20 on all the supplies, fertilizer, everything for like this one little dinky thing. But I did it myself, man, and I'm proud of it.
Think about it also, like if you decide to do this next year, you already have the buckets.
Yes.
There's already dirt in there. You may have to get a little bit more dirt, but you won't have to go buy 30 bags of dirt or however much. And then like you're pretty much set. You pretty much have all the supplies, just the plants.
I believe I will try to germinate my own seeds. That would be really cheap. Like, because some of these starter plants, they're like, I don't know, you probably spend between $3 to upwards. I spent like $15 on my strawberry bush because it was a really big bush already that already had a strawberry on it. So like I could have made better. I wanted to set myself up for the best success the first time so I didn't get discouraged when I like my seeds were like shitty and whatever.
Right.
So yeah, next year I'm going to try to, it'll be more cost efficient for sure.
Right.
I'm proud of us. Okay. We're killing it. We're growing things. We're learning. We're trying new things.
I also didn't even want to do it. And you're like, nope, we need to do it. Like, you push me to do better things.
Well, think about when you're cooking and you're like, man, I could use a pepper. I made some guac yesterday. I'm growing cilantro. Threw that in there. I was like, this is so convenient. I wanted a Caesar salad the other day. I'm growing romaine lettuce. I can just go make my own. Like it's been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Slay.
All right. So our topic for today is boundaries. So disclaimer, we are not experts. We are just talking about our own lives. Please don't take our word for anything. We're just talking about our lives. Yes. So whatever you choose to do is your own fault.
Yeah, don't come for me. And if you come for me, I will set a boundary and you will not be able to come for me. Okay. Now, okay. I wanted to get into this because I have recently just dubbed myself as a reformed people pleaser. I feel I no longer identify as a people pleaser, and I feel I've made this transformation. I used to be someone that would bend over backwards and not say how I feel and avoid confrontation with all sorts of relationships, family, like romantic relationships, friendships. Like I just never wanted people to be mad at me or whatever. So I never set boundaries with people and I just would go along with things. And through the power of boundaries, I feel a lot better about the company that I'm keeping. And I feel everyone that's in my life, I, to an extent, have boundaries. Obviously, I'm working on it. No one's perfect. And there's certain people, but I don't know. I just want to talk about it.
So you mentioned people pleasing, and that's also on our list to talk about, but I feel like these kind of go hand in hand together. Yes. I am really bad about people pleasing. I've been working on this for a couple years now, like just trying to get more of my voice and being able to stand up for myself and different things like that, because it's hard. And also, like Tay said, I don't want people mad at me. I'm also afraid of losing people when I say how I feel or that I don't like something. I tend to, instead of actually saying how I feel or what's going on, I tend to just push people away.
Or
Because then I
what
don't
do
have to
you
deal
like
with
to
it.
say, Mia? What do you like to say?
I don't know. What were we talking about?
If I say, Mia, how are you doing?
Fine.
Fine. And are you fine? If ever you say I'm fine, are you actually fine?
No, not usually.
I do the
Being
same thing
honest.
though. Honestly, if you
Yeah.
ever ask someone, this goes for anyone, this is not just me or Mia. Honestly, 9 times out of 10, if you ask someone how they're doing and they do not say well, good, great, awesome, sad, bad, and they just say fine, dig deeper. Ask them again.
Right. If I say I'm fine or I'm okay, I'm usually not. I'm usually
Yeah.
just like I'm hanging on to the wedge.
We're living on the wedge at that point.
Exactly.
Now, now what's the scary part? Like, let's break down a boundary.
Mhm.
Let's
Yeah.
get to like the square root. Like, boundaries, I feel like are good. There's good and bad boundaries,
Mhm.
I think.
I agree.
And to me, a boundary is like I have my square principles, my square set of things, and like I don't want someone to invade my mental sanity. Like my mental sanity is in a box, it's protected by boundaries, and people who like invade my, who don't respect my boundaries tick me off. They tick me right off. But I also learned you have to express your boundaries, and people need to be aware of your boundaries, and that's on you to communicate them.
Right.
Otherwise, how does someone know if they're doing something wrong if you haven't explicitly told them that something bothers you,
Exactly.
that something's upsetting you, that you don't like when they do something? So,
But I think that goes back to the people pleasing because you don't want to rock the boat per
yes.
se. You don't want to cause a conflict. You don't want to upset them. You don't want. And at that point, though, like, if, for instance, if you and I were sitting here talking about something and I said, hey, Tay, I don't like it when you do this, and you got upset with me, or you pushed back with something that you knew I wasn't okay with, at that point, how good of a friend are you actually, right. Though? Right. Like, and I think maybe sometimes there does need to be pushback just because, like, if you and I are discussing something like, hey, I don't like XYZ, and you're like, okay, well, help me understand that. Like, I'm somebody who I need you to explain to me. I need an answer. I've explicitly told some friends, like, I like to check in on people. I like to make sure they're okay. If you literally want space, you need to say, hey, I need space, leave me the fuck alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just who I am. But in that sense that I care about you.
Yes.
Now, that sparks a whole nother conversation. I'm going to try and stay on topic. But, you know, you can tell somebody you don't like something, but if they just keep continually pushing, then that's hard because you're like, okay, well, do you give in? Are they not a friend? Are they, where do you draw that line and be like, hey, this is unacceptable?
That's true. And I'm a firm believer that you can outgrow relationships. You can outgrow friendships. Us as people, I'm always constantly evolving. I'm finding new things I like. I'm deciding that things I used to like no longer serve me, and I'm not going to continue doing them, or I don't want to be that kind of person anymore, etc. And so friendships I used to have when I used to act a certain way or be into certain things no longer transformed with, like, we're all on this journey of life, right? So it's like you can't, some people are stuck in their ways. You and I both agree we hate when someone says, well, that's just how I am. Okay, that is
And I said that
nail
too.
in my coffin. If you tell me that, done. Like, that is such a closed-minded way of thinking. And one of my boundaries, don't be closed-minded. Just like, you know, if you're stuck in your ways, that's how you are. Well, I don't like you very much. You know, if it depends on what it is too. Obviously, have your firm core beliefs, and like if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. But if like you're in a relationship with someone and you're saying like, hey, like I could use some more communication, I'm feeling XYZ, could maybe we communicate more throughout the day? Well, no, I just don't text. That's not who I am.
Yeah,
that doesn't work for me.
There are deal breakers in that, because you need to be able to evolve. You need to be able to grow. I feel like you and I do really good at pushing each other. Like, I like when I'm in a funk and I don't want to do anything, you're like, okay, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do today? You got to do something. You can't just sit in your bed all day. You can't just do this. You know, you and I are really good at pushing each other to do different things, to go get out of whatever space, or
we have a checklist. we have a checklist.
I have so many checklists, but when it comes to
today, have you gone on a walk? Have you stretched? Are you just hangry?
Have you moved from the spot you were in?
Have you taken a shower? Like, just like, let's get it going.
Yeah, right. But we always are pushing each other to do better. Like the garden thing. I did not want to do a garden this year. I convinced myself I was not doing it. And Tay's like, well, I was jealous of you last year for doing a garden.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fine.
Yeah.
I'll do it with you. I'm like, okay, so me saying I didn't want to do it and then doing it, like that wasn't like a boundary thing. That was okay, you're pushing me to do something better for myself.
Yeah.
Now, if it had been something like, I don't know, like, hey, you should go participate in some activity that I really hate. I can't think of anything. Okay, you tell me to go join a bowling league.
I would never.
Okay, if you know,
I hate bowling. I would never.
I know exactly. This is
bowling is a boundary of mine. If you ask me to go bowling, I could have a whole episode on why I hate bowling so much. Okay. Oh my god.
But what I'm saying is you know, I don't like bowling. You don't like bowling. But if you're like, hey, you really need to do this. You need to join this bowling league. You have to do this. And I'm like, no, leave me alone. I've told you no, I don't know how many times. I don't want to join the bowling league.
Yep.
Then, you know, I think that's going too far, you know? There are checks and balances. And I also think it depends on your friendship, your relationship with the person too, though. Because, like, you and I are closer than, or have a different relationship than like me and a family member, or me and a coworker, or whatever. You know what I mean?
The issue I feel comfortable enough in my friendships that my personal, just friendly friendships, where I feel I don't have an issue with boundaries or people pushing. Like, if I had friends, I used to have friends that like, oh, let's go drinking, let's party, let's do this, let's do that. And that's not something. I'm not drinking right now. I don't do any sort of drug, any that kind of thing. I don't like going out too much. So I've separated myself from people that were constantly like, hey, I want to party, I want to do this. Like, no, thanks. I'm not interested. I like to go like get a drink or listen to music and then be home at a reasonable hour, whatever. But the issue I have with boundaries that I feel like I finally am getting a grasp on is family members and like romantic relationships. And maybe that's just because I've been single for quite a bit of time now, but for some reason, whenever it's like a romantic partner, I find myself those boundaries wavering, because it's like I feel so invested in, and that's my issue, I think personally. It's like I get very invested in one person, and it's like I'm putting all my eggs in one basket. It's like I just want this person to like me, and I want us to get along, and I don't want there to be friction to the point where I let things slide that I shouldn't. And so now re-entering like the dating world, that's something that I'm very adamant that I maintain these boundaries and things I worked really hard to establish.
It's almost like you lose yourself when you
Yeah.
are trying to make someone like you, essentially.
Yeah. And then
I mean,
they're not even liking you for you. If you aren't comfortable saying, hey, this really bugs me, or giving your opinion. We were literally talking about this earlier. A friend and I were just like talking about like relationships in general. And I'm just, and they said something about a past relationship they had that I didn't agree with because it was just like their mindset. And I was just like, I'm just gonna say it. Like I maybe I'm overstepping, but I'm just gonna be like, hey, I think this is kind of like a messed up reasoning. Here's why. This is just my opinion, but I felt comfortable enough to share it. And then they were able to like elaborate more. And then like we had a productive conversation out of it, as opposed to me just being like, oh yeah. Yeah. Like
right,
I just can't be friends with people that I can't say how I feel and be worried it's
right,
taken the wrong way.
right. And I think that's where you have to ask clarifying questions. I've been trying to get better at doing
Yeah,
this.
you're so good at it
like
now, because when we were talking about this live, you're like, ask them for clarification, ask them what they mean. I'm like, no, what if it's weird? And then I'm just like, hey, can you
like,
clarify?
no.
And then they did, and then it was fine. And I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
Like,
Right. Because, I mean, how I interpret something, especially initially, sometimes I usually think the most extreme thing that how that could have been taken. And I'm like, okay, I need you to break this down more for me. Clarify, explain to me where you're coming from, because right now where I'm at, I'm over here and I'm thinking the absolute worst. So I need you to break it down for me.
just even think of the phrase, just text, no punctuation, no capitalization, good luck. Just think of the two words, good luck. You could read that in your head as good luck or good luck, like, you know, like a genuine thing. So it's like, especially if your prime source of communication, which it seems like everyone's nowadays, is actual texting, like IMing, that kind of thing. Yeah, ask for clarification. That's a
I
good
mean,
rule of thumb.
I'm to the point in my life where I'd rather actually have like a phone conversation
Yeah.
or a conversation like this, because like I want to hear your tone when you're telling me something,
Important.
because it is, because sometimes like, yeah, I'm going to use my sister for example. I can hear her tone of voice when I read the text messages because I know my sister so well, okay?
Yeah.
Like I can literally visualize her rolling her eyes at me as I'm reading something if that was the context,
Right.
okay? But like other people, and sometimes also when, especially if I'm confused on what you mean by something, it is so much easier if I hear your tone of voice when you're saying it. Or even to see your facial expressions during it. Like it's just that body language and the tone of voice is like, if you said something to me, I could take it completely wrong or I could take it whatever way. Now, if I hear your tone of voice, that can completely change the conversation.
Mm-hmm. And I think just the biggest takeaway from that, from boundaries, from people pleasing, is like, at the end of the day, are you willing to let something that is no longer serving you go? I think that's the biggest takeaway. I've been willing to just let things go, let people go who don't respect your boundaries, who you don't feel comfortable expressing yourself with, who you can't be your authentic self with, because if you're just putting out this image of what you think they want, who you think they want to be, and you can't be yourself, then they're not even friends with the true version of you. So
right.
if you're like, okay, you might have a few less friends, maybe the person you really like doesn't like you back who you are, but then they're not meant for you. And I was saying this earlier too, like, whatever's meant for you will find you. And I really believe that with people, with relationships, with friendships, the right people will find you, and you just have to be open to that and stay true to your boundaries, to yourself, and not really care so much about
Right.
how you're making, like, care how you make other people feel. Don't go out of your way to make people feel shitty, but don't feel bad for taking care of yourself first and protecting your own peace, even if it upsets someone else.
And I think with people pleasing, just in general, like you're trying so hard to make it so that you're making somebody else happy. You're not trying to make yourself happy in that instance. You are trying to make them happy, and you lose yourself. You're not you.
As RuPaul says, how the hell are you gonna love anyone else if you can't love yourself? Ooh. Anyway.
All right, so we just kind of combined two of our topics together there, which is fine.
They go together.
Yeah, they definitely go together. But don't be afraid to stand up for yourself and set boundaries.
Yeah, find your core beliefs. Yeah, just even make a little list. I encourage everyone to just do a little self inventory of, like, a little clean out, maybe. Like, think about your boundaries. Think about if you're altering your boundaries for people, and maybe you could do some spring cleaning, reset some boundaries, you know? Or don't.
And it's okay to change boundaries too. Like,
it's okay to change.
I think that some people get to the point they're like, well, I believed this and this is what I put out there, and then they're like, but now I don't believe that. And I think that changing and expressing that makes that hard, because they're like, well, I don't want to be a hypocrite, or I don't want to,
You can change your mind. It's okay.
You can.
It's okay. Yeah.
Right.
Add me on Co-Star.
DAHLT.
Add me as a friend. Comment if I can read. Please let me see how compatible I am with one of you. Please let me know. I want to know. Anything else?
I think that's it for this episode.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.